Yacouba Kone has worked for the Peace Corps in his current position since 1998 and has previously as a French and Bambara language tutor from 1992 to 1994. In his role as program assistant, Kone collaborates with various national and international organizations on development issues in Mali. In 1994, he was elected Secretary General for the youth arm of ADEMA, the political party that governed Mali in the 1990s. He is the former project manager for APROFEM, a non-governmental organization working to promote the status of women and children. Kone received a master's degree in agricultural engineering from the Rural Polytechnic Institute in Katimbugu, Mali. Born in the village of Kokodio in the southern region of Sikasso in Mali, West Africa. He's fluent in French, English, Bambara, and Fulani. Perhaps if we have time, we can have a language lesson afterward. Kone and his wife are the parents of 4 children. Again, he'll be speaking on the Peace Corps and development in Mali, and we're just very pleased to welcome Mr. Kone to the Kennedy Center and welcome him for his comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to gain time, thank you for coming to this presentation, and then I'll talk a little bit about Mali in general at first, and then Peace Corps at the last time. So Mali, as you can see, is in West Africa. Those who don't know Mali before, it's this butterfly here, flying at the side of the continent here. Mali is a French ex-colony and a landlocked country in West Africa. So Mali had been colonized for several years, and then it got its independence on September 22nd in 1960, with Modibo Keïta as first president. And he led the First Republic of Mali since 1960 to 1968. And when on November 8th, he was arrested by the army, and then Moussa Traoré became president, and he stayed at the power until 1991, when he was also arrested by another military man. And that one is Amadou Toumani Touré, who became the president of the transition during that period, before giving up the power and then joined the Malian civil society. So Amadou Toumani Touré organized the first democratic election in 1992, and then Alpha Oumar Konaré was the big winner and became the first president of the Mali Democratic in June 1992. And he led the country during the 2 mandates of 5 years until 2092, when he organized the other elections. In June 2003, Amadou Toumani Touré, ATT, who was an independent candidate, was elected second president of the Third Republic of Mali. And now we have, in Mali Democratic, we have a president, a prime minister who is the chief of the government, and we have 28 ministers. Among those, we have 4 women. And one of those women is in charge of the Ministry of the Expansion of the Women, the Child, and the Family. It's a minister that is only focused on that aspect of the development in Mali. We have a National Assembly with 147 deputies. Among those, we have 14 women elected deputy, national deputies. And in Mali, we have 8 regions. We call them regions. Here in the United States, you have states. And each region is led by a governor with the same national laws. So each region is directed with the national laws. The development status in Mali, we're going to talk a little bit about it. The constitution of Mali, in regards to the numerous religions, believes that collaborate and cohabit in their daily life does not make any distinction in between religions. That's why in Mali, when the president swears in, he doesn't have to swear on the Quran because Mali is mainly a Muslim country, nor the Bible, or in the behalf of the numerous animists. So that's why the constitution is really egalitarian in talking about the religions. It doesn't work. Now let's talk a little bit about the politics, even though I'm not a politician. Mali is a young, stable, democratic country with more than 100 political parties. The present government is taking action in different areas to deal with some development challenges such as the new agricultural policy, the social habitation in big cities, and equal chance for everybody, meaning men and women, and also decentralization, which is considered as an important process of the Malian politics of development. Mali has adopted to be economically non-oriented. Decentralization, just I think I should say a few words about that so that people understand a little bit. Decentralization in Mali means that in the past, the way the country was governed was, I would say, top-down. So decisions were made on the top by the government, or the ministers, the deputies, and so on, and then to the community level and the population level. But now decentralization goes with a share of power with the local authorities and also the communities. So decisions are being taken at the local level and then go up to the authorities. So that's how decentralization means. So then each region, 8 region that I talked about is led by a governor, and then in another area which is called circles. Each circle is led by a chief of circle, and so on, so up to the local level. The religions, there is no development if we don't take into account this aspect of life. So then we consider Mali as a Muslim country when we take into account the number of Muslims in the country. So Islam is then the predominant religion in Mali and cohabits with Christianity, animism, and other religions. I would say that in most of the books, Islam is about 90% of the religion beliefs in Mali, with about 5% of Christians, and then other religions just share the rest. Then the economy. The Mali economic is really mainly based on agriculture. And when talking about agriculture, it's mainly the food crops, millet, sorghum, rice, corn, and other foodstuff. The cash crop, the main cash crop is cotton. That goes with peanuts and vegetables and fruit trees, such as mangoes. We have a lot of mangoes in Mali, and also the citrus, oranges, lemons, and so on. The cotton, as I was saying, which is the main crop, is exported semi-transformed. So Mali is not transforming its cotton. The cotton fiber is exported without being transformed totally. Here we have a gardener in the Dogon country. I don't know if some of you have read in books about the Dogon country. It's in northern Mali, in the region of Mopti. Gardening is mainly done with the hand tools, as you can see on this picture. This Dogon gardener who is carrying water to water his onions. And from a gourd, the Dogon is watering onions here for sale as cash crop that I mentioned previously. Women and development in Mali. We can't talk about women in development in Mali without talking about education and also women looking for a job. And that will make me say a little bit about education, women's education in Mali. Mali has a low rate of education in general, but really lower among the women population. The government is working on increasing the rate in encouraging girls schooling. So in the world, it's really true that Mali is among the poorest countries, but it's also among the countries that have the lowest rate, education rate, both in men, but men are even a little bit more educated in terms of number than women. Here is a classroom in Ouelesebougou, near Bamako. We have a few girls that go to school. And women and work. As you can see, this woman pounding millet in a mortar. And that's just the image of the Malian rural women who, in general, do everything manually. Pounding millet, that's removing the shells, the husk, and also making the flour, and then make the dough, which is a common Malian diet, which is made with corn, millet, or sorghum. So because of that low rate of education, the majority of women don't have the chance to get a job. Therefore, they get married and keep the primary role of mother in the family there. So the women who have the chance to achieve their studies in Mali nowadays have equal chance of even a better chance to get a job than men with the same level of education. This is recent because, as I said, the government is really trying to sensitize women to go to school, because in Mali the famous adage is that when you educate a woman, you educate a whole country. And talking about women, we'll talk about the urban women and also rural women. Rural women in small villages, in general, are non-intellectual and have different workload in farming and family care. The urban women, if they are not intellectual and working in the service industry, in the service industry, they are doing some lucrative activities in small business, in addition to their primary responsibility of family care. So this picture will lead us to Peace Corps, and then I will listen to your questions about Mali in general before giving you more detail about what you need me to tell you. So this is the picture of the the Director General Gadi Vasquez, who visited Mali in the past few months, in February 2006, in Dogon Dogon village. So Peace Corps Mali started in 1971, and since that time, more than 2,000 volunteers have served in Mali in different sectors, such as education, agriculture, health education, natural resource management, small enterprise development, and water sanitation, AIDS, the HIV also. Today, Peace Corps Mali has about 100 volunteers who are currently working with the Malian population to address several development challenges. We had more than this number, but we are switching from a cycle of 2 trainees per year to 1 training per year. That's why the number is reduced. We used to have 150 volunteers per year. So the last group who just left has not been replaced yet. So sorry. Peace Corps work surface area in Mali. As you can see this circle. So it's not a circle though, because this part is not part of Mali. So you will see Peace Corps works in the north, the south up to the center, even part of the north in Mali. We have here Bamako, which is the capital. The first region is Kai, and the second region is Koulikoro. Where is that? Koulikoro here. The third, Sikasso. Fourth, Segu. Fifth, Mopti. And sixth, Gao. So from Kai to Gao, we have volunteers all around this area, spread out throughout the country in small villages and as well as big villages. Now I'm going to talk about a few challenges that someone should consider when deciding to go to Peace Corps, especially to Peace Corps Mali. So you have a few challenges. You have to try to be culturally sensitive. So you should pay attention to the Malian culture, then you will make a good job in the village. Consider others' culture, then they will respect yours. Be patient. I say here that time may not be money all the time and everywhere in Mali. You need to be patient. The people who went there, know a lot about that, especially dealing with the development work in Mali, or I would even say in most of the developing countries, you have to be really patient. Change won't come one day. And be physically and mentally adaptable. When you feel like you're hurt, just put in mind that you can be adapted. People have done it, you can do it. And be ready to learn a new language, because Mali is a French colonized country, so then the national language is French, and we have more than 20 other dialects, local languages. So the chance is that you will learn another language than English. And be realistic. As I said, change won't come in one day. Be realistic about your expectation and the expectations from your community, because you may not even know that those people know something about what they have been doing centuries ago, and they know what they are doing a bit, even though there are a lot of things that need to be improved. So volunteers will learn from the communities at first, then teach them something. That's really something that needs to be considered when you go into the developing countries, especially in Mali. There are good expectations too. Challenges, but there are good expectations. When you go to Mali, you should also consider that Malians have a legendary reception and hospitality, and you'll become someone's family member. People will welcome you, and then you get integrated. Your health care, deciding to go there, we have a health unit that is formidable, and then you should not worry about your health. You will be always asked if you're okay, and even your family members in the greetings, they will ask you first if you're doing well. Food, you will be doubly surprised at first because things will be different. Surprised because sometimes you will think that you're not in Mali, because you may think that everything may be bad. You will be surprised to get good things to eat as well. And work, you will have time to go to do good stuff. As I said, time is not money all the time there, so you will have work to do, but you will also have some pleasure. I mentioned the housing because that may be a concern when leaving your house here and living abroad for 2 years. But you will have your own house, your personal space. We really care about that when posting volunteers in villages. So this is the end of the show, but I don't think it's the end of the presentation. And I really welcome all type of questions, and will be willing to say what I know about your question, and also I will put the rest that I don't know in my bag and maybe feed you back later. Thank you for your attention. And
what's the literacy rate? I know that in most Francophone Africa it's about 37%. Is it lower than that in Mali overall?
it's a little bit lower than that in Mali in general. When we take the entire population, it's a little bit lower. It's been between 28 to 33. Yeah.
And about
It's
10% for women?
yeah, about 10% for women. Yeah. Yeah.
Is all the schooling done in French still, or are they starting to do it in the local languages?
Mainly, it's being done in French, but there is an experiment of using the local language during the first years, and then continue with French.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that experience started a few years ago, and they're doing evaluations about the success, and then we'll see if that needs to be the way our kids to be should be educated.
Could you tell us a little bit about the projects that the Peace Corps volunteers have been working on?
Great. Volunteers, as I said, we have 5 sectors: agriculture, natural resource management, health education, water sanitation, and small enterprise development. So then they work on various project activities. In agriculture, volunteers work on garden projects. They work on gardening with the communities, chicken raising, small animal husbandry, and the volunteers of natural resource management work mainly on environmental education and tree planting and activities that are related to the environment. And the health volunteers deal with birth control with women, pregnant women, and also the vaccination of children and baby weighing at the local health centers. And the small enterprise development volunteers work on what we call the cases. That's the local banks, saving and credit banks, to sensitize people to save part of what they're generating, and also have chance to get some loans from the other financing institutions. And the water sanitation volunteers work, as the name indicates, the sanitation of the drinking water at first, and also how to use the wastewater and reduce the diseases that are related to water, especially malaria. You all have heard about malaria, and you're afraid of it. So it's a big problem. So water sanitation volunteers work on that aspect of their work. And I think that's mainly the biggest activities related to the technical sectors of Peace Corps Mali. But there are also secondary projects that go with their activities. Among those, we have building some classrooms at schools, building some local health centers, like a few facilities, and also activities that generate money for the local populations. And some of those activities most of those activities are cross-sectorial. That means all the volunteers can work on such projects. So that's mainly the activities that volunteers are working on in Mali. Yep.
How do you organize their work? Are the volunteers assigned to a village or to an NGO or a government institution? How do you connect them into the places where they work?
Good. At first, the request comes from either a service, a government service, or an NGO, or from a local authority, like the mayor's office or the chief of the circle. So it comes from those various services. Then when we receive the written requests that are made in order to put a volunteer in such village or such big village, big city, then we go over and make an assessment of the needs at first and explain Peace Corps work and Peace Corps philosophy of development, then get the agreement of the villagers before bringing a volunteer. So then we go over a process of site preparation, and then the volunteer, when they arrive after their 3 months, then they go to their sites. That's how we select the sites. So we go over a different number of criteria that we consider before putting a volunteer in a site. Yeah, over there.
Where does the Peace Corps get the funding to do their projects?
Good. At first, we have a small fund called Small Projects Approval. Small projects. So then that's at Peace Corps. With that small fund, we support volunteers' small activities in their villages. And at the embassy, there is another fund, self-help, that also can be used. They can apply for that to work in their villages. And there is a giant organization that you may have heard of. That's a Peace Corps partnership when volunteers are dealing with bigger projects like house constructions, dam constructions, and so forth and so forth. So these are different funds that are available when volunteers deal with specific projects. So a fund at Peace Corps, one at the embassy, the U.S. Embassy in Mali, and also Peace Corps partnership worldwide. Of course, they can also apply for other funds, other sources. Yeah.
Thank you. What is the attitude of villagers toward Peace Corps volunteers? Is it always positive?
Yeah, it's really positive, and that will depend on the preparation of the site. When they are well prepared before the volunteers' arrival, then they are really positive. And that also will depend on the volunteer, him or herself. Because as I said, when you you try to integrate within your community, then they will try to understand you, then you work together without any problem. So they're really positive about volunteers.
Because I know that in Senegal, where I take students,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of villagers who are quite leery of Peace Corps
Mm-hmm.
because they perceive them as a burden to the village.
In Senegal?
Yeah.
Okay. I've not heard such a case in Mali during these last few years that I have been working with them. But other villagers from other villages who did not have the chance to have a volunteer or to work with a volunteer or to even see a volunteer's activity may think elsewhere about volunteers. That's possible in Mali. And also other people who don't deal with them may not understand them quite. But in the village where they are living, usually they are really welcome and considered positively.
What kind of training do the Peace Corps volunteers go through when they first get to Mali?
When they first get to Mali, we train them in the local language, We have a training center. We train them in the local language, depending on where they will be going. Some may learn French because they are going to a big city. And also they receive technical classes about different subjects that they may deal with. They also receive cross-cultural classes. That means they will be briefed about the Malian culture. If you do that in Mali, you are not welcome. If you don't do that, that's okay. If you do that, that's what we call a faux pas. Then, so then that way they get at first used to what they have to do, what they need to do, and what they should not do at all before they go back to their site. So in resume, they receive a language training, a technical training, and a cross-cultural training during 3 months. And also a fourth component is the personal health care. So they are given some information about their personal health. So what to do in case if someone gets sick in her or his site. So how to contact the medical unit and how to get there. So they get those information before going back to site.